100.
What if we do like 7 and just 173?
What about like these three sides of this? I have to add up. These three have to add up. That's the biggest one.
What about 7 and 15?
7 and 15.
It's 112.
It has to be rectangle and square.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
7 plus 5, 7
Oh yeah.
Alright,
7.5 by 15.
alright. We need like an equation to figure out.
Yes, that's bigger.
Well, let's write it down.
7.5 and 15.
What about 7 times?
So,
Wait,
system
7 times,
equations.
well, I mean,
That's
one
one
we have to have.
Now we need to figure out the biggest one.
Anyway,
So,
see if we can
30
do
equals
16
short
times.
plus
So,
long.
16
And
plus
then-
1. That would be 12, yes. 16 times 6.
And then what else? should I
Yeah.
do?
16 by 6 is smaller.
No, wait, no. It's a rectangle. It would just be more.
And then we want to
It'd be
see
like
how
16
big
or
the line
6.5.
is done though.
No, wouldn't. Because 16, that leaves 14 left. Oh, yes, 16 by 7.
Yeah.
That's 112.
So actually, the 17.
That helps.
No,
7.5 by 7.
Okay, we need a
7.5
second
times
actual.
So.
It's bigger by half. Wait, it's bigger by half.
112 by
Wait, 7.7 times. 7.7 by 5. No, not 15.
Yeah, 15.
Question for you.
14.5.
I'm not answering questions, but I'll ask questions.
That was 1.5 times.
Question for you. Humor me for a moment. Give me your ears, at least half. Like one. If we are trying to assign, say here, assign or decide how to assign values to things that we don't know, like our length, our width, or whatever, would we rather use a standard variable like x, z, f, whatever you want to use, for one of the sides or two of the sides? So that's the question you gotta ask yourself. Either way can get you to a solution. But if you're thinking that we have two widths and a length, do you want to assign an x value to your length or do you want to assign it to your widths? Which then what you gotta ask yourself is what do the other values become? So do you rather have x, x, and whatever this is, or x and whatever these are?
I think XX and whatever this is.
Either way will work. One of them is easier. Either way can work.
7.5 is the biggest one I could get. The closer I go to.
Yeah, because when you go to 17 and 6.5, it gets less.
What was 7.6 times 2? 30 minus 15.2.
You can't go past 17 and 6.5. So that, okay, so 7.5 is the biggest we've found.
Hold on, I'm try 7.6.
Let's map. Let's
Seven
map
times-
this out. So it's 7.5 by 15. 7.6. That would be 15.2. And the other one would have to be
15.2, 14.8, and 7.6.
More than 100. The area does not come out to be a whole number. It is not an integer. So guys, I will re-say something I said earlier clearly. Your answer for maximum area is not an integer.
7.5. You're trying out 7.5.
Alright,
7.55 times 14.9.
In my personal case,
Nope, 7.5 is the biggest you can get.
there we go.
You sure?
Yeah, 7.5
Yeah,
is
your
the
area is
biggest.
Try like 8 or
8 wouldn't work.
I tried.
We tried literally everything.
So we need
No,
to
It's
8.
7.
That would be 8 times.
yeah, it's gonna be upside down because the vertex is.
No,
gonna
8
be
is
there.
way smaller. Okay, so let's see. 7.5
We
is
have to have mathematical table. We can't just show. So.
Why?
Okay.
We have
I
to
know, that's a
we
lie.
have to show out like why is that
Oh, you
big.
There's a table.
You got the visual.
That's not a straight line, Sophia.
Doesn't matter. You got the visual, and we know it's this.
Oh,
We think.
there we
Pretty
go.
sure.
Steven,
because we
Steven,
can
you should
enter
probably
like
keep looking at it. You should keep looking at it.
keep looking at that. So we need mathematical.
No, we need
So we need visual and mathematical.
so visual and math. So we need to find like we need to do an equation that shows why that is the thing. But we can't just say 7. We need to show why that is the biggest.
So we need to do, like, let's do an equation. It would be 2x, 2x times y
2x no 2x times
times y equals.
no not
Oh, I forgot to do this.
a system of equations.
Shoe. Be gone.
I'm
Shoe.
still open. Literally,
It's
just
two
a
x
bit.
plus 2xy. 2xy equals 30.
It's search your
No wait, 2x. Yeah, 2x plus 1 equals 30. No, we don't. No, it's x plus 1.
So furniture, can you figure out the equation?
I think we have to do a table and then get an equation that solves it.
No, but we don't. You're supposed to.
Okay.
What we're doing, that's confirmation.
Not necessarily. Because x is gonna be like the length and then y is gonna be.
You can add them together.
Kendrick.
Anyways,
Okay, does anyone?
okay, be 2x plus 30.
Yeah, he's saying we couldn't
Get that on the other side.
So I'm over here solving it on my own.
That's not.
You guys have teams. I don't even have a team.
Can we ask a hypothetical question about how the heck you work a graph?
I'm not looking it up. Yeah, you can. What do you want to ask?
We don't know how to work graphics.
What do you mean?
As in, like, we don't know how to put points into a
Third value.
What do you mean points?
values.
I'm concerned that what you're trying to do may not be.
That's not something that we can solve. Dude, we don't need to.
Okay, so what's in your y? So why are you using it? The easy answer to get you just answer your question. The second table set, you're on independent auto. You want independent to be asked or asked to be
And then you plug it into
Independent
this.
beyond auto
And
will
then
give
you
you automatic output based off your y equals what you input into
No,
it.
and then you plug that in for y. So that you. So it's x times 2x plus 30. X times.
So that's how you
negative 2x.
change how you input things
Negative
into
2x
it.
squared.
Okay.
You ever think about that?
Yeah, I need an equation of sorts. Okay.
So y equals
Yes, and check equations.
So we're getting higher. What about
Okay.
Yes.
7?
Hold on, so then I'm
7?
pretty sure probably would be negative 2x
That would
squared
be.
plus
I'm
30.
pretty sure.
do any more than there's something. No.
112.5. Go get a graphing calculator. Let's see what happens if it plugs in.
So below that is 7.
I was waiting for that moment.
Okay, so Lawrence, below it, right below that is 7.
Yeah, it always gets. Okay. So.
Okay, no,
Please, Desmos.
No.
Our resources.
Oh yeah,
A whole lot of Chromebooks in the hallway.
112.5.
Nope, too much.
Mathematical proof.
Wait, what?
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 How is that too much?
Did you say 112.25?
112.5.
We got that too, but we don't
Yeah,
have
that's what we
No. Okay.
Mathematical proof.
Alright, so Nidhi start making our nice little
What's our proof? A parabola.
this thing.
A parabola.
Because we
8
need.
times 14 is also 112.
No, internet.
7.5 is right.
Yeah, 7.
No, Chris, get it.
So,
Start graphing.
We
Start graphing.
can make an equation.
Okay, so plug it in.
so
Oh, I forgot how to do this. 2x plus
ax squared plus bx
2x squared negative 2x 30. No. I'm seeing what happens.
Wait, is it, that's the first one.
y intersects.
Did that make a line? X.
Sorry, ignore what I had said because I had looked at something earlier.
Y
It's negative 2x
So
squared.
we're right, we just need to do it faster.
112.5 is the correct answer.
I.
But you have to have a mathematical proof.
We have proof.
Negative 2x squared plus 30.
We gotta be more than a kind of.
We do.
No, again.
No, it's not
We made
minus.
a parabola and we
There's no
found
minus.
the
There's
proof.
nothing.
Make sure that you have it supported here when we hit 11 o'clock. We'll come
Yeah,
together and try to
We
compare
have
solutions.
mathematical proof. We have mathematical
But
proof.
Get it written out?
That's just for this one. That's just for this one.
No, dude, that's the equation that you would need to use.
Okay,
to
we
find
have
it.
mathematical proof.
If you have this, then you know this is the highest value you can.
And then make
Steven!
sure you diagram it like on your
Dude, turn it back
chart.
on. We gotta go show.
No, wrong
We
one.
gotta go show Mr. Hudson. No, just go with two there. Where's the string?
You do.
What is the
Where's the string?
R
What is the vertex point when we're trying to get to?
Yeah.
back over here.
I think so.
Okay,
If
so
that's
we're-
right.
Show you the proof.
That parabola
2a
seems odd.
squared.
No, get rid of the minus 112.5, dude. And then go up to the top and look at it, because that's what's.
Plus 112.5.
Wait, what do you
Get
do?
rid of just get rid of it altogether. Doesn't need to be there. Now go up to the top.
No, wait, what is that?
I can't go up. I can't go up.
Oh, you only need.
Why
I
can't
just
I?
tried
We
it.
set up a system of
We
equations.
set up a system of equations and solved
2x
it.
plus y equals 30, and then x times y
7.5.
equals some highest value.
And then look what we got.
You made it harder than you needed.
Then look what we got.
I think that's it.
I
never
already
did
did
look.
look.
We
So is
found
that
it.
it? Did we
Do you
win?
get it?
How to make it a
Except we
square.
made it
Well,
harder than
where's the x?
Did we win?
No, we didn't.
And
But it made it
It's
harder
2x
than it had to be.
Oh,
but we
that's
still
the-
got it.
Hey, turn down your volume like 3 clicks. I'm trying to hear other groups now.
Because 2b had,
Keep looking to see if it finds it.
but,
No, we got the equation.
The answer is thing. The answer, the higher
So-
value is 112.
What you're really trying to answer is the dimensions of the pen.
Like,
If you found that as the maximum area,
Well,
then what you're trying to tell
7.5.
Lucy is the dimensions of the pen.
7.5
I
and
get it. I hear you. I did it.
yay!
And I'm probably just gonna give you all candy if that's what you're worried about.
Wait, communism bad.
Satya, what if I say you don't get candy because you can't control your behaviors?
You can't control your
Does that make you happier? Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Probably not. That's
I'm
just tempting to like you to cut something.
What's he
I
doing?
have a problem.
Trying to stab scissors through a piece of cardboard. What are we going over here?
I think that.
Alright.
I'm trying to write this equation.
Chief Claude, he has contacted
I'm not
us,
entirely sure.
letting us know that this
What is X
is,
in the
in fact, it.
X is the short side.
Just saying it, chief.
Okay, so what is x?
But what if it is?
Except, well, no, because that would be d is 0.
Wait, so what are you covering between?
X plus 5. No, that's S. That was just what we needed.
Oh, okay.
When we were thinking of trying to figure
I
out.
did it!
Ignore that for
I'm not
Dang.
sure.
I think I did it. So here's the wrap up.
I'm not judging you for your Minecraft. I'm sorry. There's this guy named
There's a guy named X.
Okay, explain your problem with your Minecraft. Does it might
He like blows everything up, and then
You'll
it's
skip
not
on
bad. Jacob, do you remember Xbox Addiction? What's it like? It actually doesn't look good. This isn't.
Huh?
Chief called. He said that this isn't.
One time I was at a restaurant. This guy was like, have a good time, big man. And I'm Big Chief. And I was like, he called me Big Chief.
I'm worried. Should I be worried?
The Council of
You
Highly
can remind me how to term. There we go.
The
Second.
Council of Highly
second
Intelligent
zoom.
Enhanced Findings has contacted me to let me know that this is a fact.
Oh, I just split it.
Also, not
You are
enough.
way.
No, it's not. I already
This is
said
an
it.
interesting graph.
Boy.
You're also.
No, it's not. No, it's not, guys. You realize it's not long enough because when you guys measured the square, it was 9 by 10.
Just 2x
Yeah, no, dude.
What is that?
It's not-
Wait, what?
Yes.
So
You're trying to
you
get
guys
the
cut it.
maximum
No,
area.
you guys accidentally cut it out of 9 by 10, out of 10 by 10.
Alright, so.
So,
Three.
Not sure.
It's just crumble.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, alright.
has to.
No, not how could
But,
you?
Now put this here and just like.
So that's the one.
Dude, I'm so glad it's all that system of equation stuff.
So then, what else do we
Right
have?
now,
I mean, like,
what you're
We understand.
saying
It's
is why.
good
you
enough
solved it.
for
Steve,
model
Steven,
that we know.
Bro, I am Chief. Chief's job was to just plug in numbers to find the biggest thing, then we solved
yes,
this.
yeah. Why is the area?
No, see, look, it fits
So have
perfect.
you been told?
Yes, dude, it did.
Boom. I bet this. I bet space and time, and now it fits perfect.
She called it.
And there's no third
Sorry.
involved in here.
It's not.
Yeah, we do have to.
Although
I
agree with
was-
that, it's like the justification here.
How just put it up on here.
Like, how did we get
Wait,
here?
are we allowed to do homework now?
We don't know if we won.
Can put in any points that are gonna be on the graph.
I haven't.
Which was also that.
I was working on the freaking.
What is that? Science thing, or is there a mathematical reason for the science of 25?
Yeah, we guys have a pencil.
Where's, you have
You
all
guys can have our pencil.
Well, I don't know. Can you?
Oh, wait, that's one.
But
There we go.
like you have one side gone, and you have room for.
Wait, Steve, you didn't do the homework from last night? No. You wanna do that now? Where is my pencil?
I agree with all of that. So, did you find your 7.5 versus your 30 and halving it and halving it again?
No. It was 6.2.4, right?
So there is a cleaner way to get to 7.5, like a nicer that will work in any situation we're given. Like, I like this for this situation, but that's when we have one side saved that doesn't get included. It works here, but it wouldn't work in every situation. So when we go over this together, I want you to humor me and play along with my version as well.
Why did we get a blue bucket?
What do we have over here? That was the thumbtacks.
Oh,
What have you
oh, the thumbtacks that I stacked.
It had something.
Where are you guys at? Mathematically.
Well, I don't think this works.
Here,
on
Chris,
that.
can you switch spots? We're gonna work with you.
Not going with that.
We're doing 6 points. I don't know why you guys need to work together to do the homework.
Because it helps us.
Wait, 6 points.
All right, everyone's gonna need out a piece of graph paper. If you don't have one out, get it out.
So we can leave.
Chris, can I really not trust you with scissors?
He stabbed himself with something.
I accidentally cut myself with a thumbtack while I was trying to put it in. Wait, 6.2 points. I didn't hurt myself with the scissors yet. I mean,
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
oh, what the heck?
We gotta get the iron, boys.
You don't get that iron, you don't get that.
Here, hold on a second.
Hey, I gotta go somewhere. Where are you going? Don't worry about it.
So, if we start thinking about this barn as being the side that we save, like that we don't have to use,
Would we be able to use Desmos in like a college level test?
no, but Desmos only does things that the TI-83 can do. You just have to learn how to use your TI-83 better.
Exactly, but Desmos is free. That costs.
A lot of money.
Yeah. How does Desmos make money?
We're gonna set these over here.
Probably donations.
So that we can control ourselves.
Or maybe they have ads.
All right.
Is that-
Let's chat. If we know, does it open up here? That we only need 3 sides of the fence, actually, and we don't know that it has to be a square, but we do know it has to be a rectangle. Thomas said something really interesting. We know that squares maximize areas, usually. But if I want to be efficient with my variables, and if I don't know what Thomas just said about, like, we have to utilize some square knowledge here, I would rather use the same variable multiple times as opposed to a variable only once and then some other value. So if I, let's say, called this z, then over here, what is this? Well, it's half of 30 minus z, right? And that gets really complicated. So if you used the variable for your length, it's okay. It just makes it like kind of messier than it needs to be. So I think what at least this main group here, Satya, like middle of the room, Satya, Stephen, and Chris got to this point of saying, okay, if we have this as our area formula for length times width, then it really drives a quadratic.
Wait, what?
Now, they didn't get there through this way, though. They got there through a system of equations. So, again, many right ways to solve mathematical problems. But if we throw that into Desmos or a graphing calculator, the maximum point here, what does this point tell me?
7.5 is your length.
7.5 is my x value, so that's here and here, leaving this as
125.
15. Good try, man. I like when you try to like give some obnoxious answer and then you're wrong. It makes me laugh.
That was the
on the inside.
beginning of my.
Okay,
It's not
quick,
slap it
last
on.
year.
Except I had like plus
Don't try to draw the attention to
something else.
No, last year's song.
So, this may not be the route that you took, which is totally fine, But this is the way that we can use our parabolic or our quadratic understanding. Here's my issue with what you guys did. Don't use two variables if you don't have to.
We didn't. I mean, we did.
Yeah, you did. You used x and y.
Yeah, and we used Z.
That's two
And we
variables.
also used Z. So
That's three variables.
So we didn't use
I
two.
mean, we didn't actually end up like
You're funny.
using Z.
So, wait. Let's go back and have, because Satya likes to argue these things. You're saying you used 3, but you didn't use 2? How'd you get to 3 without using 2?
Oh, we
X was 1, 2, 3.
So did you use 2
We
variables?
used 2 of them. We had 3, but we only used 2 of them. Z was just kind of a placeholder.
So,
It wasn't like
the method that Thomas took was probably the most interesting one that I could have thought of. Thomas, do you want to kind of explain, and then we'll draw it up here, of what you guys processed through back there?
Well, okay.
someone's doing a bridge shuffle.
So hold on, let me clear some of this out. So remember, we don't know don't even trust the grid lines. We don't know anything about this picture. There's just grids there to help our brain think.
We know that normally a square would be the best ratio from area to perimeter. But we have a side that's gone, so we can just fit another square in.
So instead of using one square, Thomas's thought, and this confused me at first when I looked at his paper, was let's just say 2 squares with one unknown edge length, because they'll be the same. So in his brain, he said, well, rectangle can just be 2 squares. So the equation he actually set up,
He's a hidden
which this
genius.
confused, so I'm going to use his variables and stuff in case you heard them talking or anything else. He drew an imaginary line here. He said if I call this A, this A, this A, and this A, then my area is 2A squared.
He's a genius.
But then 1, 2, 3, 4, 4A has to equal 30. That's the part that you were missing. So then we still again have a system of equations here. But if 4A has to equal 30, we kind of have a system. If we call big A a different variable,
A equals 7.5.
A equals 7.5 through algebra.
You don't have to
And then we can just test
Thought
it.
of that.
This is the linchpin to that part of that solution. Now that'll work here because we do save this extra side, but that doesn't always work out. And really, because we're rigid in rectangular shapes, it's a little bit easier as opposed to like, what if I could make it a semicircle? What if I could make it triangular? What if I could make it like oblongular, like not oblong, like not perfectly circular, but rounded, but in a. So like, if you just round up, so instead of hard corners, Satya, because you could argue this space out here is kind of wasted space because it takes up a lot of fence. You bring your fence out and you arc. That's like oblongular because it's not circular because it doesn't keep a
This
radius.
would work pretty good.
You know the Earth is an oblong spheroid because it's not a perfect sphere. It's oblong out the middle, I think, actually, because of rotation. That's it. Understanding that problem was all we really needed to do today. So a lot of different ways to get to the same answer, but parabolic solutions is one of them. Here's what I need from you. We have 10 minutes to work on homework. I need those push pins in this little blue container as I come around. Push pins, please.
Here comes that.
They're also called push pins.
Minions look like bananas on kicker. There are minions negative for bananas. Thomas. And I see.
Did you see that they made minions? Did you see that they made bananas from
Are positive and negative 3.
Hey man, you abandoned. You gotta go with your new friend.
They made bananas from distinctly.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to update math for us probably today. I decided not to put grades in over break because I thought that would probably upset some people. So if you never turned in your Chapter 5 homework, please do that. I begged for it all